Welcome all. Tonight we're going to be doing the Gatling cannon on our uh, Imperial Knight. So as we look at this is a real quick, easy way to look at it. If we count our arms and our configuration, we count our left arms. We got 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the same as up there. 5 different configurations. If we count our right arm, we got 1, 2, 3 configurations. So as we go through this, if we look at our weapons overall, we just have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different or 7 different configurations. So what does that mean is we got to go through this book kind of carefully. On this steps, there's a lot of things that you could over magnetize. I know that's kind of weird for me to say that you're going to be over magnetizing things, but that's actually kind of the truth. So real quick summary of what we left off on. I was doing some prep on this, and I actually did end up magnetizing the head, the shroud to the head. I don't know why we need it, but got that in there. And this is just kind of like I was mentioning before, just in case you wanted to do change out the heads later. There's some pretty cool aftermarket heads that I talked about earlier, and that's kind of what I liked about it. So I went ahead and did that. So as we look through this, we're going to do the Gatling cannon. Let me go ahead and adjust the camera just slightly. So on this, we look at this and it's got A1718. What we're going to look at real quick, so if we're going to do this, is we're going to just look at the bodies. Okay, 1718, that's the Gatling cannon again. Thermal cannon is 23, 22. Rapid fire battle cannon is 22, 23. Reaper chain sword, that's obviously by itself. The strike gauntlet, thunder strike gauntlet is by itself. Let's see what else. We got the last impulsor. That's also 22, 23. So on this, it looks like the Gatling cannon is actually by itself, which is really nice. That makes for a very easy build. Which means you're down to very simply building it up and magnetizing at what I'll call this elbow joint. That's the joint which we're going to be magnetizing to be able to click in and out all our weapons for right and left hand. So we'll go ahead and start looking at this. Kind of clipped this one out already. So it's going to go something like this. So clip that out. Let me get this going up like this. So that's kind of how we're going to have it going. As you can see, this is the part for the other one. This one we'll talk a little bit more about on my next video. This little magazine area back here, you got to make some decisions, but like I said, we'll save that for the next video. So we'll put those pieces off to the side. So we're going to go ahead and start on this Gatling cannon. We're not going to worry about the upper register, so kind of got it here, the upper elbow. So typically what you would do is you'd glue it like, or be careful, and you'd set it in. Let me get in the video frame. You'd set it in like this, and then you'd come around and carefully glue that so you still have range of motion and changing the axis. So when you hold your weapon, you can spin it around. We're still going to maintain that feature, but what we want to add is the ability to change out the weapons. So what that means is we're going to have to put a magnet in here. So a couple options. You could try to glue it in place, or what I like to do, and what I'm going to do, is I got stuff called green stuff, because when you mix blue and yellow, you get green. I'm going to mix a little bit up, fill that up a little, and then press a magnet in it, and then I'm going to take my little hobby saw, my razor saw, cut this end off, and I'm going to center that as best I can on this end, and push a magnet in and slide this off, because once you get this going, you're not going to be able to clip this in without putting a magnet on it, because the part just doesn't go together real. So that is kind of what we're going to be looking at. So let's go ahead and do some cleanup on these, get them glued, and look at it. So like I said, this model is actually a fairly good model to start with magnetization. Like I said though, you gotta be careful. There are some pitfalls to this model. This is one of those where you can actually waste magnets. I mean, why do you want to spend the time to magnetize something you really don't have to? And I recommend starting with this Gatling cannon, because it's you're gonna have to do the same process on the other 4 appendages that you're gonna build, and it's gonna make it look it's a good one to practice on. So we're gonna build this up in order. We're gonna do the Gatling cannon, then we're gonna do the Thunder Fist, and then we're gonna do the Reaper sword, and then we're gonna go on to the harder one. So, but those are in future videos. So get your plastic glue out and just run a small bead in. So you probably saw me there. I picked up one piece and chose to glue the other piece, run the bead of glue. And I have no proof or rhyme or reason. I just like to typically run the glue on the side with the female end. So that is 100% a preference. Now, I have done this before, and I almost did it there, is you glue this piece first, because if you don't, getting it in is a whole lot more fun than it needs to be. So, go ahead and put this in. Go ahead and clip that. Check to make sure you got your orientation right. So your gun is going to fire out, so we want our magazine like this. Clip it in and press for a second while our glue sets up. While our glue is setting up, one of the things I'll make sure to do is, you can see, is I'll move this back and forth. One, that just keeps the glue from setting on it, makes it look good, and does a couple other things for us. So we got that going for us. Just make sure our glue doesn't want to set up too hard on it. So we should be good to go here. Alright, that should be enough. So the other thing is this A25 piece. Just make sure that you don't see it anywhere else. Gatling cannon. I don't see it on there or there. And this is just a double check. Just double check yourself. It's easy to get in a hurry, put this model together and go, oops. Done it. Not gonna lie. It's an oops. So we'll go ahead and clip all that out. Stay. Instruction book. So A25. So if you look at the sprue right up there, you can see the little A. In the instruction book, it'll say A15, A25 next to the part, and then the regular part. That little bitty A is the only reference you have that this is sprue A. So go ahead and just clip it. And while you're in here with your clippers, we'll go ahead and drop it down. We are knowing we're going to need these parts, so might as well clip them out now. So, like I said though, the Gatling cannon is a great one to start with because it is a true magnet setup. I mean, it is just the elbow joint. And what it does is, it's 2 elbow joint, so one of the upper elbow joint is going to be your, for everything else too on that one arm. So, what I would recommend is getting both your elbow joints out, and I'll do that here in a second, and cut them both at the same time, and use them to set your Gatling cannon, and then use your Gatling cannon to set everything else. So that way you have a stable platform. Because what we want to look at is, let me grab a big magnet and a small magnet. I'll demonstrate this for you. So, let's say we have our big and small magnets here. Our big magnet and a small magnet go together. A small magnet, though, typically wants to stay in the center of the big magnet. I can push it over here, but it does want to go to the center naturally. So let's use that. Use that property to our advantage. We are going to glue one of these on. If you look, they just happen to be the magical right size, you know. But we'll glue one on, and then once we glue it on, we will use that to set the center points in here. So that way we have the same type of thing going on. Like I said, I use a hobby saw, razor saw, whatever you want to call it. And so what I'll do is I'll take it on this piece. I'll just demonstrate on this and just slowly work it in. And get as clean of cut as possible. And as straight of cut as possible is the other thing. Sometimes you have to clean your blade out a little bit if you're not using the right stroke or it just gets clogged. And as you can see, it does make a very clean cut if you take a little bit of time. Got a small burr, but I can actually clean that up with my lack of thumbnail. But it cleans up pretty nice. So what's that going to do? So we're going to grab one of our magnets. Now you got an option here. You can actually drill this in, or you can just flat out glue it. There is a slight advantage to both. So let's look at this. If we don't glue it, we do get a nice kind of like snap-in joint here. Actually, that one's not going to like me. So let's look at another joint. 88. Let's play some bingo again. Screw bingo. So as we look through our sprue for part 88, did we find it? We did not. 88. 88. Are you on here? 88. 88. Where are you, 88? I think I might have just cut 88, which was okay because we needed to cut it anyway. 92, 97. Where are you? Let's look here. 92. Should be in here, so I just gotta find this right sprue with the right piece on it. So while I'm looking for this, we'll talk a little bit about what we're going to be doing. So like I said, we'll just go ahead, make sure this stays free while it's finishing its setup, and find part number 88. Not on that one. Okay, let's keep looking. Definitely not on that one. 88, are you on this one? Now you're just playing hide and seek with me. Alright. I wonder if it's on the sprue I haven't looked at. It is not on that sprue. Alright, so we will keep looking for this one. 88. So anyway, like I said, what we're going to be doing is clipping this in. It will kind of just go in like that. Kind of interesting that it's got that little lip. And what I'm looking at here, I hope you guys can see that. You see how it's got that little lip? Even before I clipped that, it had a little lip on it. It drives me a little bit insane. So, you're gonna have a little bit of play on that, if I remember correctly. And we'll just do another one real quick to show it. Oh, that's the same size. So anyway, like I was saying, we'll look at this. We'll just clip one out real quick and show you what I'm talking about. And there we go. Got another piece. So we got this other piece, and here we go. So if we look at this one, when we put it in, and we clip it, you got a little bit of a gap clearance there. So you're gonna have to account for that when you put this magnet in. So that is why I'm not gonna drill it though. I'm trying to figure out a good way to show that, and I don't know why I didn't think of that earlier. So let's go ahead and get our magnet. It's right here. Now, we have not done any magnetization on our knight, obviously. This is the first arm we're going to be doing. If you have other knights, I recommend go grab your knights, grab your stuff that's already magnetized, and use that as your base. But since we don't, what we are going to do is take our handy dandy little drill. And what we're going to do is make a center hole. And I mean just a little prick. If you have a needle, you can do it with a needle. So you just want to make a center dot. And the reason why is just to give you a point of reference. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just a small little something for your magnet to kind of get a little puddle of glue under. This is just going to help put the magnet on, help you get a good center point and look at it. Alright, so time to glue. So go ahead and put a very small bead of glue on. Pull your magnet and then press it down and let it set. And try to get it in the center the best you can. And that looks pretty centered to me. Got a nice little center dot going, so looks good like that. So now we'll come in here and kind of look at how we want to set this. We want to set it with a small gap. So kind of look at how far down we're going to put our magnet. So let's get our green stuff out. And you can use mill putty, pretty much anything you want to fill the hole. I just like the green stuff. It works well for me. And I've had this stuff for a while, and it doesn't take a lot to do anything. It's roughly equal parts. So I just peel me off a small bit. And I peel me off a small bit of yellow, about the same size. Look at that. Make sure we get the plastic out of the yellow. Plastic doesn't mix in very well. Got a little bit less yellow, so pull a little bit more off. Looks good. Now a trick to this that I've found is dampen your fingers. Use a cup of water. Just get your fingers dampened, it won't stick to them. So I just kind of twist it together to start with and start mixing. So as you can see, that's kind of what we got going on. And mix it up pretty nicely. And blue and yellow start to make green. You mix until you got a nice green consistency, and you kind of just keep going with it like that. So you might have to reach into your cup every once in a while to get your fingers re-moist, and so that they don't the green stuff doesn't stick. You just want them just barely moist. I have found, I've had some people with some bad luck on this, that if you have something like a lotion or something like that on your hands and you start mixing this stuff, it doesn't cure as fast or whatnot. So now I take this mix and I pull it off to the side. I make a small ball, and that's actually too big. And I put it in. Now you moisten your tool and you just gently press it in. And as you can see, it will press in pretty nicely. So, just like that. Press it in there, fill up your gap. So now I check with my magnet, and you'll feel just a touch of it touching the green stuff. That's about the right spot we want it. Now, like I said the trick before, make sure you're going the right way. The trick is to, one, not glue the wrong size magnet on, which I did. So, if you do that, just take a little pry bar. Hopefully the glue hasn't set too well. And pry it off before the glue sets totally. That was the wrong magnet. This is the right magnet. These are the ones in the Magnet Barons kit. That was a magnet I was using earlier for another model. I will pull that off to the side. That was the magnet we used for the helmet and the head. So these look a little bit better. So the glue's still a little tacky, but I'll put a touch on it just to get a good bead going, and then I will press that down. And don't do what I did and have a set of magnets in your hand when you try to press it down, because it will make it a whole lot more fun when that magnet jumps off. So just kind of work it a little bit till you get it centered like you like it, just like that, and let it set. I do have a small little gap, and I'll fill that with just a little bit of glue around the edge, just to give it a little bit of hold. So once you do this though, you don't want to stick it into your green stuff. You really don't want to stick it on everything, so just let that set and dry. If you do have a lot of magnets, kind of like I do laying around, put this in a spot that won't attract them, because bad things happen when magnets get close to each other. So before you're ready for them. So like I said, just let this sit. This green stuff will get a little bit tacky as we go. So while you're doing that, go ahead and proceed on with some of the other steps. We got our shield out. We'll go ahead and start assembling our Gatling cannon. Make sure we get all the pieces. 1, 2. I know I can count to 3 if I had it out. And 3. Go ahead and start cleaning up our area so that we can find stuff as we need it. So, go ahead and look at how this is going to go together. I always like to dry fit just beforehand, just so that it goes together pretty well. So I have an idea of what everything's going to go in. So on this one, it has male-female bumps, and you just line them up and it goes around, something like that. And you can see how it's going to go together. So it'll take a little bit of effort to get this to line up perfectly in your hands. I am having a lot of difficulty apparently today. So, but that's kind of what we're looking at. So a lot of times I'll just clean up these little edges and just make them look, get a good clean. Remove the sprue lines, move the clip points, just excess to get a nice clean model, so that when we go to paint it, it will look good. I will try to find a good painting tutorial video for knights. I'm not the person you want to learn how to paint a knight from. I can assemble them, but my painting is not the greatest. There's far better painters out there than me. I'll try to find some and link them on my YouTube video, my YouTube channel, and get that going for you. So this is kind of what we're looking at. Just clean those up, and we should have it here shortly. And there we go. So now we'll get our plastic glue out, and like I said, I'll put it all on the female side of these bumps, and that way it looks, one, it's standardized, and two, it kind of helps. So then I will clip it together. So this one's going to go like so. It will hold for a second, just gotta hold it. Then this one will go in like, don't push too hard or you do what I just did and make it explode. So, like so. And then okay, we are going to have a lot of fun today with you. 1, 2. There we go. I got it to go. So now, you can see I left that kind of rough. Now I'll take a little bit of glue on the inside where we're not going to see, and run some glue around these edges to melt them together so that we get a good strong bond. Okay, there we go. That's setting up. Alright, so now, what else do we need? A23. A23. Get our A sprue out. We'll finish clipping off these pieces. Let's look for 15. A15. A15 is here. And we'll get it clipping. So right now what we're doing is we got the green stuff setting. We have our Gatling cannon going together. We have our magnet drying on our upper elbow joint. So we got a pretty good job going right now. So yeah, that's where we're at right now. So that's really good. Moving along. Yes, you can move a lot faster than I am getting this knocked out, getting it going. My recommendation is to make sure you take your time though. Think about it, because this is a really nice model, and that's not nice, a really not a cheap model either. So kind of what I'm talking about is make sure it just you go with it. Like I said, as we take our time and start realizing things, you don't have to take and magnetize this one all the way, because it has all separate parts than the rest of them. So what does that mean? It means that we can kind of take a little bit of a shortcut and practice on this one, getting everything lined up, set up, and slowly build our way into the whole model. So like I said, the female side, put a little bit of glue on it, so that's what we need, and then just slide it together. There we go. So that goes on like that. Then we'll have our shield will go on, our Gatling gun will go on. Make sure we get the tri side lined up. Then our shield. Hey, look at that. Looks like we got a Gatling cannon. There we go. This is not glued, obviously, but and then our arm will go in like this. Clip that together. Letting that dry a little bit more. And then we will assemble that the rest of the way. So 90 and 96. I believe, if I remember right, 90 and 96 are the same on a lot of parts. Yes, they are. So, I am unsure on why they numbered that the way they did. That's got to be the same part as what we have, because I only see 2 of these in the sprue. And it makes sense because you don't need any more than 2. So let me just double check that. Negative. Okay, so double check that real quick, and that's what we got. So we'll go ahead and clip these together and glue them. 90 and 96 are right here. So we'll get this going. This is the way we can kind of see what we're doing fully tonight. Get a arm somewhat together. 90 and 96. So go ahead and clean these up real quick. 6. Okay. So go ahead and hold them together. Kind of see how they go together. Kind of see there, you got a very clear mold line there, and that's where we're going to be gluing as well. It's where seam goes. So I kind of just will run a file over that, so that one, it kind of uniform, makes it easier to hide, I guess. I don't know if it works for other people, but that's kind of what I found. Make that nice seam kind of just disappear there. And then these two don't meet, so they'll just get filed off separately. Okay, so let's go ahead and get our other piece out that we need. I believe it's going to be 91 or 95. Okay, let's go ahead and clip it. So that it comes out. So that's kind of what we're looking at right now. So we got this going. It is going pretty well, surprisingly well. So let's find our one that we've had the magnet on. And this just actually clips in here. So we are not going to push that on yet. We're going to finish cleaning this up. Missed a big old piece of sprue line there. So clean that up. Make sure it looks good. So that that's clean. Got that going. Now clean this one up. The other thing nice about magnetizing this model, I know that a lot of people have done videos on assembly painting and whatnot. Magnetizing is a big part of that. You magnetize it, it's a lot easier to assembly paint. So we will go ahead and clean this one up. Alright, so this piece is actually symmetrical, so we will push it in, and look at that, it goes right on. You got good movement. When you go to glue this piece, you can kind of see it in there that there is a hole that it is going to go in. So what we're going to do is make sure we align this with this side, and we push that together, this side, and push that together. So that's how that's going to work. Make sure we have good in and out motion still. Okay, then we're going to be able to clip on. This guy's going to be able to spin, have lots of axis of freedom and motion. So we'll go ahead and run our bead of glue along this edge. Glue in our shoulder joint. So go ahead and get that going. 2 by 1. And glue it. Hold it for a second, and the excess glue wipe off, kind of like we did before. Make sure we have good motion, and let that set. Alright, so that looks good. Kind of shield looking good, and we got our Gatling looking good. So that all looks really nice. So it's going to come together as a good model, looking good. So some people may be looking at the instructions as it goes on. There's some little points on here. A21, A23, it's the heavy flamer. You can put that on, but that goes on right in there. We're going to skip that for now for this video. That's just one to call that out where it goes. It's actually not that bad to put on later. So as we go about this, we're going to go ahead and clean this up, our shield. And we will go ahead and glue it here in a second. So that is starting to look like a starting to come together as a knight. Some people will say, well, you're going out of order in the instructions. Yeah, I know. It's just this is one of the ways I've found to assemble them. This is kind of how the easiest way I have found to explain to people how to assemble this model too. That's part of it as well. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So let's go ahead and we're going to beat the glue around. Go ahead and get our shield in place. Hold it for a second. It's going to glue. Then comes our Gatling. And you'll see on this Gatling, if I can get it in focus, right here. Let's see if I can get good light on it. Let me get a pointer. Right there is a recess. On that recess, you can see on this part, that's where it's going to go. It's going to go right like this. My recommendation, and some people can agree with it or don't agree with it, glue this first. The reason why is it's just easier for me to get to, for one. That is just, having done this a couple times and learning some of the shortcuts. It's not a shortcut even, it's just, it makes life easy. So that is kind of what we're looking at. So now put a nice little piece of glue there, and we will call that good. And then we will clip this on, and then we will glue this on. Alright, so glue that on. Get a good amount, because this is a part you really don't want to fall off. So right like that, it's glued. So you got a couple little appendages and whatnot to go on. So this should be set up now. We'll go ahead and clip that on. So it slides right into our knight right here. As you can see, there's a little male-female tongue and groove type connection there. So it slides on, and then it's going to clip on right like this. And that's how we're going to go with it. And you can see that is going to clip on the other side. We'll have the exact same side. Not obviously this one, but it will go on either side. So I'll demonstrate that later. So let's go ahead. We should have a good enough setting process. So now what are we going to do? So what I like to do is grab a couple of small magnets with the big magnet I want to use and create a standoff. So what do I mean? Something like that. Kind of have a small magnet in there. Kind of have a small magnet with a big magnet there, so I can kind of get it in here. And like I said, we're going to use those properties to our advantage. So that way I always make sure I have it on the right side, and it just looks good. So now, put just a small drop of super glue in here. We don't want too much. And then I will press this down as best I can. And slide that around. Then I'll get my handy dandy wooden dowel. And so, while the small magnets want to stay in there, and that was good. Uh-oh. We'll leave that set for a second. So, while our small magnets want to stay in there, they are going to come out. They just don't know it yet. So one of the tricks is to put it on its side like that. So now, it can be very tempting and anxious to try to set this together real quick. Let this dry. I cannot emphasize that enough. Your life will be so much nicer when you do that, because one, you're going to get a bond between the green stuff. Two, it's going to make life a whole lot easier with the super glue dry. And it's going to make it a whole lot nicer on you. So, this is actually the first one. And as you can see, it wasn't too bad. It's two magnets. Glue it together, have a nice time. Oh, we forgot to put the back end on. So we'll go ahead and do that now. A 19. A 19 right here. So we'll go ahead and put that on. And we'll glue a couple other pieces on. But that's it for this. I mean, that's the Gatling. Took about 30 minutes to put together. Snipping, gluing, and all that. It is a very easy to put together part. So that's what we're going to be doing. Next week, I video stream on Thursdays, as many of you probably figured out by now, at 8:15 Central Standard Time US. So what I'll do is start streaming, but I do a couple prep videos during the week, which are a little bit different. The magnet bearing kit does not include the magnets to do the head. That is 100% extra. It's just something I wanted to do. I like to do it, for one, and I thought it was cool. That was the other factor. Not sure I'll ever get another head for it, but hey, if I do, I'm ready for it. Alright, so we'll go ahead and hold this together a little bit. It's wanting to be a pain. So, the next ones, you can kind of see this, how this goes together. On the other range-mounted weapons, for lack of a better word on this, they'll go together and they'll share this common receiver end, and the barrels will be different. So you'll have to actually add a magnet in here so that you can actually use it, and it will make life easy, and I'll show you how to do that. This little part in here, so you got an option. You can either leave the part out or not, because once you put it in, there's not really a good way to do it. This is left empty when you do the large, let me look it up what it is before I quote it wrong. The rapid fire battle cannon does not have that, but like the thermal cannon has one. It just has the piece in there, and it's a small drum. To be honest, I like putting it in. To me, it doesn't take away from the model when you have the rapid fire battle cannon. So it's a preference. You can make the decision. I'll show you guys that on the video at the time. So that's kind of where we're at. There's a couple other things. If you notice on this one, this is all one mold. This is not. This is a flat piece. That's where your tanks go for your thermal cannon. That's where your parts go for your rapid fire battle cannon, and also for your I believe it's, let me look it up again, the new last impulsor. So what you do before you glue that, and we'll show that, is you put a magnet on the inside, and that way you can clip those on and off. Just a little thing to think of. So I'm gonna go ahead and call this video. I appreciate everybody watching. Like I said, this is going very well. Got this really well done. Let's see if this is ready to go. And you can see there, clips on. We lock our cannon in. Come on, be a good little cannon and line up. And right now, that's what we got. We are very unbalanced right now, mainly because of we have no shoulder pads, no anything. This just makes it easy to film. Where I can pull it off, you can see inside and whatnot. So we can go ahead, we lock that on. Now let's say we're done with it. It pulls off, real nice. Now we're painting. We pull this section off. We pull this section off. We leave. We can, when we magnetize our shoulder pads, we pull this all down. And you can get to all this lovely detail. That's a mixed blessing. Depends on who you are. But yes, like I said, you can get to all this detail. It makes the model explode. Makes it really easy to paint. So, thank you for you guys' time. We will be, like I said, streaming a couple videos throughout the week coming up, and of prep videos, how we're prepping all this stuff, and I will be posting them. Thank you for your time, and have a good weekend.